everyone. We are came to here discuss about the piracy. First of all, we want to know about the best management practices in piracy. Seafarer have encountered different security threats when operating ships in the Red Sea, the Gulf of Aden, the Indian Ocean, and the Arabian Sea. The purpose of this publication is to help ships plan their voyage and to detect, avoid, deter, delay, and report attacks. Experience has shown application of the recommendations in this publication makes a significant difference to the safety of seafarers. Piracy specific best management practice. International navies and capacity building assure have helped to suppress piracy. However, Somali piracy has not been eradicated and remains a threat. The BMP-5 was developed and endorsed by several major shipping organizations. With the following basic requirements in mind: understand the threats, conduct risk assessments, implement ships protection measures, report, cooperate. That is the best management practices in under the privacy and maritime law. Now I would like to invite to Malaysia. Continue this.
Thank you, Ravanja. So I'm going to give you a small introduction about piracy. When we hear the word piracy, the first thing that comes to our mind is sea crimes. Of course, piracy is a sea crime, and the second thing that comes to our mind is Somalian pirates. But not only Somalian pirates, there are hundreds of pirates in the world. In the time between 2000 and 2015, there are hundreds of piracy cases happened in the seas. The pirates usually hijacks the vessels, and sometimes they take hostages for money. But luckily, with the help of private maritime security companies, now the piracy cases are minimized, because now that companies have technologies to track down the pirates. There are a few types of piracies. They are kidnapping, hijacking, boarding, and armed robbery. So now I invite Yashara to elaborate more about these types of piracies. Thank you.
Thank you, Manisha. In the sea, kidnapping is a left or criminal act committed by ship or boat borne attacks against another ship or coastal area. This kidnapping is becoming more common in many parts of the world thanks to terrorist groups and organized crime. At the same time, international travel for both business and pleasure has become more widespread. Only a few years ago, the international community was rejoicing at the end of piracy on the high seas. 2019, the first 3 months, and 2020 have already seen a 24% rise in pirate attacks and attempt attacks between 2011 and 2020. The figure reflects the total number of crew members abducted for ransom at sea by pirates. There have only been 6 confirmed incidents of pirates trying to attack uh, cruise ships in more than a decade, with the most recent occurring more than 4 years ago. Now I would like to invite Deshani to continue the presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Yashara. In maritime piracy and armed piracy against ships are a contemporary challenge in the maritime industry. These two phenomena have a global impact on maritime trade and security. Today, the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean are considered high risk areas for piracy and armed piracy against shipping activities. Hijacking is a very rare topic these days. Now, I would like to invite Sajid to continue this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dilshani. Maritime piracy and armed piracy against ships are contemporary challenge in the maritime industry. Today, the Gulf of Aden and the Indian Ocean are considered high risk area of the piracy and armed piracy. The threat of armed piracy against ships has been the agenda of the IMO since the earlier 1980. The IMO Assembly Resolution A.102526 defined uh, armed piracy against ship in the accordance with the code of conduct for the investigation. I hand over to Sunatha. Continue this.
Thank you, Sajid. We can tell when talking about the boarding, it is a boarding for a ship without the permission of captain and authorized officers. In the past, pirates have boarding to the ship from the uh, rear of the ship. It is easier for pirates to board to the ship. It can be controlled by the P-trap method and more. It prevents pirates to board to the ship. There are many ways to protect a ship from pirates. Those are the captain should use a ship specific checklist to conduct a detailed inspection of all parts. Other thing is when the ship is in port, all the restricted areas must be locked. Uh, Now I invite to Nadishani to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Sunatha. I'm going to talk about private maritime security companies. Maritime security has become an important requirement for merchant vessels over the last decade due to the increased threats from pirates across the world. Latest reports depict a steady increase in the reported incidents of piracy. In order to tackle this problem successfully, many security companies have started to provide maritime security services. In the recent past, several countries have introduced legislation and rules to help the shipping companies. The new rules allow the vessel to seek the help of private maritime security companies. All over the world, there are many maritime security companies that offer a strong security service. Now, I would like to invite Rasika to complete the presentation.
Thank you, Nadishani. Some of the private maritime security companies: Hart Maritime, Neptune Maritime, STS Maritime Security Service, Moose Maritime Security Service, Avantgarde Maritime Private Limited Security Service. Hart Maritime is one of the globally established providers of maritime security. Hart provides for protection from piracy attacks in areas such as Indian Ocean, South Asia's Neptune's maritime security services of the unique maritime protection of the combat piracy. Most offer piracy security service, ship security, harbor security, and also underwater security services. Avantgarde Maritime Service Private Limited is of Sri Lanka has ensured that maritime security companies are assurance of the obtaining weapons for passage through the piracy risk areas. Now I would like invite to Amal to continue the presentation.
Thank you, Sajid. When considering about the above mentioned things, different organizations use different methods for minimizing them. Because of the regular review of the threat and risk assessment of the organization, when the ship is going to sail, they review about the attacks that they can face in the sea, and then the organization take actions to minimize them. By the review of the route which they are going to sail, they predict the risks of that. Not only that, the organization will always do an assessment about the security, and they always increase their security according to the way they need and which they are going to sail. They sometimes implement a ship security plan and the vessel hardening plan. Companies mandate ship protection measures such as door hardening, gate, motion sensor CCTV to ease the defending. And they used razor wires and alarms for their security are some of them. Thank you. Then I invite Bimsara for the continue the presentation.
Thank you, Amal. Crew training is one of the best methods to avoid piracy. Most of the companies train their crew to handle the situation when the piracy attack arises. Then another method is using private maritime security companies. Most of the maritime companies hire the maritime security companies to avoid piracy attacks, but this may be highly costable way compared to the other methods. Then the another method is set the hidden position transmitting devices in the ship. This may be helps to find the ship's position to other authorities when the ship has been piracy attack. Then the last one is guidance to the master about the recommended route before the ship has started their journey. Authorities have been guide the best route to ship's officials. They have always select the safest route to avoid piracy. This is the way how companies minimize the piracy. Thank you.